What's up, folks? Welcome to 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏TV. I got Alpha Warrior joining me today. We're going to be talking about a whole bunch of stuff today. Venezuelan strikes, Candace Owens allegations, and what the hell is 6-7? I also have a friend that's going to be joining me that's involved in the military. He's been calling me lately saying, dude, you got to look into this 6-7 stuff. I'm going to bring him on to do a specific show about this. And does it add up to 13, December 13th? We've heard Candace Owens say, a few other podcasters say that early December could be a terrorist attack. Now, add that into the equation with a lot of a lot of Black Hawk helicopters have been seen all over the United States in droves. We're getting ready to strike Venezuela. We've already gone into their airspace. So everything's kicking off right on time, folks, just in time for the holidays. So stay with me. This is going to be one hell of a show. Hit the notification button. Like, share, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Venmo, if you appreciate me, I definitely appreciate you. That's 𝗑-ROD1977, 𝗑-ROD1977. When the lights go out, please leave an honest review on that. That's a book I wrote on my iPhone. Took me a month to write it. About 300 pages. Also, my mama's book, The Mexican Mix. Thank you for the prayers for my parents. They're both home together right now. I appreciate you so much. Ringside with Nino is tonight, Wednesday the 10th. Today, damn, I can't believe it's already the 10th. Christmas is coming fast. So today, 5 p.m., I will be there. I'll see everyone there. We're going to war game together. There it is. Everything is 50%, not everything. All annuals are 50% off on Nino'sCorner.tv right now. All annuals. I'm doing the Sancho Claus sweepstakes, and we're going to be doing that at Christmas time. So around Christmas, I'll be doing a sweepstakes as well for the Nino'sCorner.tv subscribers. So there you go, folks. Get your Noble Gold. Get your Noble Gold as we wrap up 2025. Man, I can't believe this. One they built with real gold and tree, it's peace of mind, baby. Visit NobleSpins.com, folks. The dollar is tanking. You're going to need something, and it's never too late. It's never too late to do this stuff. X is Nino Boxer, PatriotWear.com, being right there. Nino'sCorner.tv. I got Wano Saving up there right now. I have Mike Arnold up there talking about the Nigerian Christian genocide. Folks, after Venezuela, I'm telling you, our sights are set on Africa. Our sights are set on Africa. Going into Nigeria, whatever it is, there's a lot of minerals there. A lot of needed minerals. But oh, wait. Yeah, they're also having Christian genocide. But there's a lot of minerals. Yeah. So there's that. The Ghost is on Nino'sCorner.tv. Stuart Swerdlow will be coming back on. Bull Pony's coming back on. He's called me the last 2-3 times, just urgent, we got to do a show, Nino. We got to do a show. It's about to pop off. And so that's what, makes me think more and more about this 6-7 relation. Does it add up to 13? Are we talking about December 13th? I don't know. I'll talk to Alpha more about it right now. But, folks, you might want to turn it down or turn it up. We're getting ready to kick off the broadcast. So here we go. Coming at you live. So Candace Owens, has she gone crazy? Well, Alpha has his has his own theories about this. I do too. It sure does seem like everyone's going crazy these days, doesn't it? It does seem like crazy is the new trend. Mental illness is the fashion now. It's what everyone's talking about. But, regardless, I don't, she doesn't seem like she seems 1 foot in, 1 foot out with backing Trump. And I don't know. Is she a psyop? I think there's a lot of podcasters right now and influencers that are. I feel like the whole podcasting industry has been taken over. It was only a matter of time before that happens. And so alternative media now is like the new mainstream media. And, you're going to see a lot of people turning on Trump, a lot of people coming out of the closet. It's just going to get crazy. So I'm going to hear Alpha's theory on this. I'll get my theory about it, and we'll war game with my audience. Folks, as Candace Owens continues to ask the hard questions, and I think she is, but she sure is pointing fingers at everybody, right? Like she's just She's like Oprah handing out a car. You go, you. Everyone's guilty. It's like, what the fuck? Anyway, she continues to make these outrageous claims. More division and infighting occur within a conservative Patriots community. Tim Cast has thrown his hat in the ring along with Milo, Benny Johnson. There's a little cat fight right there, folks. Milo and Benny Johnson. Oh, my God. Laura Loomer. I don't even know about that one. Nick Fuentes and so many more. Nick Fuentes is catching fire. And I got to tell you, I think he's an agitator. I think he's a disruptor. But damn, I like some of this shit he says. It gets you going. Get your blood pumping. But I don't know. I think, Kanye West kind of brought him in. That's all you got to know. And what was Kanye West doing at that time? Well, he was talking about the Nazis, and he was wearing a ski mask, and it was fucking crazy. So, you kind of lose credibility on that one. But more right-wing podcasters, influencers, and politicians will be switching sides, adding to the confusion and division. So right now, we are moments away from striking Venezuela. If it's not already if it maybe has already happened, I don't know. In fact, massive amounts of Black Hawk helicopters and halos are active in high irregular activity around the United States. So that tells me maybe these are the areas that are, I don't know, dangerous, that could be cells activated for such a time as now. And maybe when we start striking Venezuela, maybe we can see some terrorist attacks, maybe around December 13th. It's just a question. I don't know anything. I have no validation on nothing. But rumors are surfacing of Barack Obama being seen in the UK multiple times and buying property there. It is said that he may get hit with an indictment as early as January. So, yeah, I would consider him a flight risk. I would. So I don't know how his passport hasn't been yanked. But 2026 is looking to be one hell of a year, folks. It's going to be a hell of a year. And I think probably 80 to 90% of what Trump needs to do has to happen in 2026. And I bet Alpha would agree with me. Alpha, how you doing, my man?
I'm doing good, brother. I was like, wait to pop up right there for a second. I'm listening you go through the warm up right there, and I'm just like, it's a lot, dude, bro.
I mean, right now in Venezuela, the opposition leader, Maria Corina Machado, has been evacuated from Venezuela with the help of the United States. So I've heard that there's operations taking place right now, that a lot of people are defecting and moving out. A lot of generals, officers leaving Venezuela. They're coming into southern Venezuela where the troops are. They're taking them in. I've heard a lot of stuff. So, I know they got to clear things out and get things ready for the strikes, correct?
They do. Here's the thing. Do we have CIA operatives on the ground in Venezuela? Yes. The question is, are they the good ones or the bad ones?
Both, I would imagine. I'm sure they're working against each other.
We're right now, we are, for a couple of years now, we've heard the term the precipice. And right now, we are at the precipice. We're in that phase. It's not a single day. It's not a single event. It's a phase, and we're in that phase. And one of the things that the confusion that we have dealt with, as just regular citizens, right? People trying to, navigate through this chaos. That's what's going on right now with the deep state. At the same time, they don't know who's who. You covered it. We'll talk about it a little bit later too. The influencer wars, right? It's like that Spider-Man meme where everybody's pointing at everybody. Yeah. Like all that's going on right now, and why?
And I know you agree with me on this, that there's a lot of, dude, we could see it playing out. Like a lot of disruptors and agitators that are out there that have been planted for right now.
There are people that were planted years ago for this moment. Absolutely. And we'll go back. We'll get into that when we get there. People got to remember, propaganda is not someone that comes out and does a statement, and you're just like, oh, that entire thing was a lie. That was all propaganda. Nobody would believe it.
Right.
Propaganda is always, and I've said it with you before, propaganda is always going to have somewhere between 70 and 85% truth.
Right.
You can't sell the
99% truth, and then that 1% is strychnine.
It's true. So with Venezuela, there's a lot going. I think the one thing we do know is this more than just narco boats that Trump's turning into peak myths? Absolutely. But I tell people there's different phases of where everybody's at. You have, the audience that's watching tonight, you guys are like the advanced digital soldiers. You know that there's more going on. You could read between the lines, you get it. But there's still we're not the majority. The vast majority of the people are still not awake to this. They're still relying on MSNBC and The View and the Five and Fox. And
Yeah.
so when Trump makes moves or our military makes moves at the headline level, that's designed to tell them what they need to hear to get the reaction they need. It's our job to say we judge actions more than we do headlines. Headlines are just what gets our attention. Now, one of the things surrounding Maduro in Venezuela is over the past few days, people have acknowledged they shut down the GPS, and
Right.
initial reports were, well, this is definitely a sign of us getting into combat position. That's true. But then it was like, well, we're hearing reports from operatives on the floor and those close to Maduro that it wasn't the United States Department of War that did this. It was Maduro that
Oh
did it.
wow. Yeah.
And
Yes.
so then people were like, well, if Maduro's shutting down the GPS, it's because he's trying to go after make sure that the U.S. military can't coordinate. And listen, he knows we have so many
And
satellites.
maybe planning an escape. I don't think he's. Do you think he's going to go down with the ship?
I'll give you I'll get there in just a second. But what I'm saying is he knows the United States has so much satellite and different ways of communication. You're not going to shut down that. Now, one of the things that me and Josh have hinted towards is, am I saying Maduro's a good guy? Absolutely not. Whether you believe the cartels put him in position or whether you believe the deep state put him into position, what I do believe right now is a very strong likelihood is that whoever put him into position for something bad, that he has definitely been pulled by the collar by the White Hats, saying, now this is how you're going to operate. And we've seen that. He's taken down a narco plane over Venezuela. Why would he do that?
Right. Why would he ever do that?
So
it's like taking out his own players.
It is. So if he's shutting down his own GPS, is he sabotaging his own military's position on what's going to happen? Or did he shut it down temporarily to create chaos because that allowed us to get our elite guys onto the ground, whether it be for an extraction? Because what other information just surfaced in the last 72 hours? That Rick Grenell was in Venezuela. Now, a lot of people are trying to take, oh, Rick Grenell's bad. And I'm not willing to sign off on that just yet. But what I will say is I do believe the information we're hearing both publicly and behind the scenes that he was in Venezuela. But was he doing it at the behest of Trump, or was he doing it because he's trying to sabotage Trump? If he was trying to sabotage Trump, he's not going to do it at this window. Too many eyes are on there.
No, not right now because everyone's watching him.
Everybody. And he knows there's covert operatives there. And he's not going to risk that. So I think he was there facilitating what this exit plan is going to be if Maduro is even still in Venezuela.
So yeah, exactly. So yesterday there was a FA-18 Super Hornets tracked flying deep inside the Gulf of Venezuela. Online flight tracking data shows that a pair of U.S. Navy FA-18 Super Hornets flew right in the center of the Gulf of Venezuela earlier yesterday and stayed there for about 40 minutes. This is a relatively small body of water bounded on three sides by Venezuela's national territory and is in the same general area where American forces are known to have previously probed that country's air defenses. So I would imagine, I got the, Juanito texted me and said, okay, it's on, it's going on, it's going to happen soon. What information are you getting for this? What would be the reason for them? I heard they were crawling. They were just slow flying, just kind of mapping out the area. What would be next? Is it to test their systems?
It can definitely be to test whether they have things that are online that we don't know about. We know that China has a vested interest when it comes to Venezuela because of the resources. Right. So has China deployed something there that's beyond the scope of the technology that we expect? We kind of talked about this the last couple of days. Well, we're talking about the artificial intelligence chips and these quantum chips. There's information that has surfaced. Now, whether it was stolen from the patents of our special access programs, the SAPs, I believe it was. There's no confirmation to that. But China does have a quantum chip that is more sophisticated than what we have. Now, Josh,
A quantum chip.
yes, a quantum AI chip. Now, Josh believes we do have this technology too. We haven't publicly acknowledged it. But the reason what was so important about this particular chip is our chips use silicone. And so this is what generates a lot of heat. And this is why you got to have a very cold environment. Well, in this special chemical, whatever it is that China uses, they don't use silicone. They use some type of other adhesive that holds this together that doesn't generate any heat, which allows them to make it smaller and more efficient. So it's better technology. So are we testing to see if China's utilized that technology? And when I'm talking China, I'm talking the deep state China, not the sovereign alliance China. You know, are they and are we testing that to see? I think that is one thing. I think the Occam's razor of it is the military intimidation. If you're these narco terrorists and you see these F-18s flying and nothing's stopping them, I mean, there's going to be hesitation there. But as far as what we're hearing with this military move, we haven't been able to corroborate this yet, but I got it from a source that's independent of a source that Josh also got it from. So we're both coming together with information very similar. And it's why did we even have such a large military presence in this area of operation, the Caribbean, off in the coast of Venezuela? Why has it even been there from the beginning? Well, I wonder, and we said this on one of the shows that we did with you too.
Right.
This was weeks, if not months ago. We had told everybody, and I think you remember this year, we told everybody, China has ships en route to South America. No mainstream media was reporting it. It was just information that we're getting in the back channels. And what did we find out last week? That China has a civilian medical vessel that's landed on the coast of one of the islands. I think it might have been Jamaica, but one of the islands right there in the Caribbean. And it's a huge vessel. And you have a couple of the influencers out there making videos saying they're here to help with the storm and medical needs. They've never, ever come here to help us. And really, they got here that fast? Now,
so is this cover for?
Well, that's a possibility. And I was thinking about this originally. That was my position. I was like, well, maybe it's not really a medical
or
ship.
A false flag.
Is it a false flag?
Maybe they do a false flag on themselves and say that we knocked out their vessel.
Well, okay, so false flag, yes, but not on China, because that would put us in direct war with China.
But exactly, maybe
right
that's
now,
what they want.
Well, they do want that, but not the deep state wants that, but not yet, because the allies haven't positioned themselves to who's going to be on what side. Because remember, this story, you got to be able to sell it to the normies, not us, not this audience, but the normies have to buy off on whatever's going to happen. And so the information we had back then was, and this goes into the movie, Some of All Fears and things like that, was that there was a Russian sub, a Russian nuclear sub, old school one, possibly diesel. And we know that South America bought some of these way back in the day. That was rogue, that the deep state had possession of, and it was in this area of operation. And Josh has done a great job of explaining, the technical part of how the Navy has every time we've done military games with old diesel subs in the past, we've lost 100% of the time because of the way it's just too hard to track them. And so then that brought us to, okay, well, if they're there for this rogue sub, and is this rogue sub part of this false flag? What kind of the scenario you're talking about? What we had by proxy over this last week was we had, Witkoff going over there meeting with the Russians. You had, a portion of Russia that was meeting with China. This all is happening around the same time. And is it because this is the sovereign alliance portion coming together saying, look, the deep state is going to try to create a false flag to create this World War III, the biggest of the black flags that we're talking about
right
here. And so was there a meeting of the minds to discuss the whereabouts of this sub that we're not able to find? Now, this is speculation on my part. It is my speculation that this rogue sub is being controlled by the deep state of China. And if that's the case, they still got to have some means of communication, even if it goes dark beyond the scope of what we know. So was that new chip that they have, is that being utilized in that sub?
Okay, so that's just one scenario of what could go wrong here.
Because here's the thing.
Okay, go ahead.
Here's the thing. If the deep state says, because we know, what did Trump just say? 2020 stuff's going to be coming. You guys all know.
Right. He did say that.
That's coming to the surface. We have about 2 weeks ago, the Clinton Foundation got referred over to the DOJ to be reviewed. You know, you go back to the emails surrounding Obama and Hillary. You guys don't know what that's all about. They know that, again, this is the precipice, not for us, but for the deep state.
100%.
They know that it's coming. So what is their big red button to keep Trump at bay? He knows, they've probably communicated to him, if you come after us, we're pushing the button and that sub's going to launch. Now, here's the thing. It doesn't even have to hit us. Because if they launch it, and let's just say if they hit us, it creates more chaos. But let's just say they don't land it, the whatever missile it is into the US, and we intercept it and we destroy that sub. Well, when that sub sinks or comes to the surface and we investigate it, whose sub does it look like it belongs to? Russia.
Ours. Or Russia. Yeah,
No.
Russia.
It's a Russian.
So then they're in the game.
So now you destroy the relationship with the sovereign alliance surface level for the normies, because now you have to go to war with Russia. They just blatantly try to attack us. How do you prove that it was China? How do you prove that it was rogue without letting the entire cat out of the bag? So I think that ship that landed in Jamaica is not something that's designed to attack us. I think this is the part of China that's part of the sovereign alliance, because we know, because we did this, you know, this is what the USS Liberty was. These were spy ships with certain technology. Right. I think this is China's version of it to help us track that rogue sub, because they're dealing with their own deep state.
100%. So with that transpiring the way you're saying it, and the Black Hawk helicopters have been seen in droves all over the United States, the minute Trump pulls the trigger and goes for this, that can go down in the Caribbean, and then at the same time, domestic terrorism here in the United States get hit as well. So they're ready. It's go time for them as well. It's not just us, and that's what you all parts of the chessboard here need to be considered of what's happening. Do you think that's why there's kind of a, I don't know, could you say a delay in this happening? I mean, a lot of people thought that this attack on Venezuela would have happened already, but would you say that that's why there's this bit of delay?
It absolutely, they are all creating the fog of war for each other, of when's it going to start, why is it going to start, who is, because we do the thing everybody has to understand, we have enemy operatives on U.S. soil, and we've talked about that ad nauseum, you know, during Biden's administration when they came across the border. But at the same time, what do you see the seditious six, and I'll argue plus one when we get into
I think I know what you're talking about. You're going to stage the seditious seven, right? Hey, dude, I'm open to it. I bring it all on here right now.
You know, and well, that's the thing. Everything's on the table. Everything's on the table, because that's just.
See, people like you and me, we're making sense of this for the audience, talking about this wargaming with the audience.
100%. Because here's the thing: people that look bad can turn out to be good, and people that look good can turn out to be bad. And who knows? We're not going to know until it's over, if even then. But what do you have? You have the subversion of the U.S. military. Why? They're not talking about the U.S. military attacking Venezuela. That's not what it's about. They're not talking about the U.S. military going and being involved with China, Russia. That's not what any of it's about. That's for when the U.S. military is deployed stateside.
Exactly, right here.
And, you know, in the last 48 hours, you had a very controversial statement that was made that the U.S. military was directly involved with you know what of Charlie Kirk.
Right, and that was by Candace.
And that's a big deal.
Yes, it's a very big deal, because now it's going to sow doubt, which is why you're saying this is seven. So that would go along with my theory of agitators and disruptors being activated right now. And you're probably going to say Candace is one of them, but let's just hold on for a second there. Wait up. Let me get into this. Trump sends shockwaves through Latin America as he hints 2 more nations are in his sights for a Venezuela-style crackdown. The president said in an interview taped this week that he would consider using military force on two U.S. allies in Latin America. Trump cited Mexico, and Colombia drug trade into the U.S. as he continues threatening to overthrow Venezuela President Nicolas Maduro. Now, folks, you've seen it with Stuart Swerdlow, who has said that basically, now if you want to believe this or not, it's up to you, about the super states that are forming and that South America needs to be cleaned up. I always think there's a bigger picture in all of this, and that's why I let people come on my show and spew it out. But Mexico is a primary country for trafficking a variety of narcotics, including heroin, fentanyl, and cocaine into the U.S. Colombia is the largest producer of the latter substance. Since early September, the Trump administration has launched 22 strikes on alleged drug smuggling vessels in both the Caribbean Sea and the Eastern Pacific Ocean, resulting in at least 87 deaths. So Trump says, sure, I would. Trump said when asked by Politico if he would consider using force against targets in other Latin American countries with highly active drug trades. A substantial U.S. military force consisting of naval warships and special ground forces has been deployed to the Caribbean to pressure Maduro's regime in Venezuela. So imagine if we do get Maduro alive, how many connections he can give us. I mean, this would just be the web of intricacies this guy can just give us would be extensive. But also what we got to look for here, and I had this guy Mike Arnold on my show on Nino's Corner.tv. Nigeria, the Christian genocide that's happening there. We are setting our sights into Africa as well. So it's not just going to be Venezuela or Colombia or Mexico. It could also be the continent of Africa when we decide to go in there and clean house. So this is, he may have stopped a lot of wars, but there's other things brewing, right, Alpha?
100%. If you go and track places that the World Health Organization and the World Economic Forum have gone to deploy resources to quote unquote help destabilization, what you're going to find is shortly after those times is you had coups. You had coups and color revolutions that happened in those different parts of the world. It's been the way we've taken over, and you have that with the Congo. A huge deal was just made with the Congo that involved resources for us. But of course, what did Trump come out? He's addressing this Christian genocide that's happening on all parts of the world. That G word, was used a lot, over the last 2.5 years, but it was never used to expose what was happening to Christians. And that's what kind of showed the hypocrisy in a lot of these people's statements.
But don't forget the minerals.
and that's huge. It's huge when it comes to Venezuela. It's huge when it comes to the Congo. It's huge when it comes to Ukraine. And why did he give NATO divorce papers? Because Trump's going to get the resources in Ukraine regardless of how this plays out. If Zelensky goes along with the deal, which was going to allow Russia to take, it's the original peace deal. Russia was going to take certain things that used to belong to Russia. Well, in that, all three of them were going to get, tied into the minerals. It was going to be Ukraine, it was going to be us, and it was going to be Russia. Well, now if he wants to back out because you have the NATO and Europe that was throwing money this way, which is why he did, well, then Trump's saying, okay, well, then Putin's just going to do his thing. You guys are on your own. We're not going to be in it. Why? Because then when Putin takes over, we're still going to have this sovereign alliance with Putin, and we're still going to have a deal for the resources.
100%.
So we're walking away with resources no matter what, and he knows that Zelensky knows this, and that's why he's got him cornered. But then it brings us into Africa. You look at the DRC, Dominican Republic of the Congo,
right?
Or Democratic Republic of Congo. I forget which one it is.
Which, by the way, who's been there the last few months is Juanito. He's been in the Congo. He's been deep in the Congo. I called him on his cell phone, and the tribe answered. I was like, what the fuck is going on here? I was like, okay, forget it, man. I had to call back later, man. I was like, Juan, I thought you were gonna have your head on a spear. I'm not kidding you. I tried to answer the phone, dude. They were like kind of ceremony dance or whatever, and it was the weirdest shit that I've ever heard on a phone call.
You're like, don't cook our friend.
I was like, dude, is his head on a stick?
he doesn't taste good. You don't want him. He's
like,
bad
what
meat.
the hell is going on here?
So, but you have these things going on. Why? Because this isn't just about U.S. sovereignty. This is about the sovereignty for humanity all over the world. This is about because how do you address the immigration crisis? You allow these other countries to flourish. And what's one of the ways these countries are going to do it? They're going to do it with the natural resources that they have. That's how they're going to accomplish all these things. And Trump isn't just facilitating that. He's making sure we're going to get a piece of that pie, because resources are going to be the most important thing moving forward with all the technology that's going to unfold. So,
and the resources are the rich minerals in the continent of Africa, and China's already there. In other news, folks, President Trump reveals Jerome Powell's reappointment to the Federal Reserve might be nullified because it was instituted by the Biden auto pen, along with other Democrat appointees. Scott Bessent is now investigating. This would be huge. All 4 Democrat commissioners. I hear the auto pen may have signed those commissions. Maybe I'm wrong, but we're going to check, says Trump. So there's that. This is just, it's all unraveling. 2026 is going to be a monumental year. I think it begins this holiday season, and I was talking about it with a military friend on the phone today this morning. His name is Jason, and I'm going to bring him on. He's like, Dave, you got to look into this 6-7 thing, and I wanted to talk to you about this before we get into the Candace Owens and all the other stuff. But let's talk about 6-7 for a second. So obviously, this is all over TikTok, social media. They got kids chanting 6-7. It's a dead drop. What in your mind is 6-7? 6 + 7, 13. Is it December 13th? Obviously, we know the deep state would probably have to make a move during the time we hit Venezuela or right before to put mud on Trump's face and take the attention away from what's going on, the arrests, the indictments, everything that's coming. In your mind, what do you affiliate the 6-7 with?
You know, my family had mentioned this to me about a month ago, and I kind of I dismissed it because I was just like, yeah, I don't really buy off in a lot of the woo-woo stuff. But then it started to resurface in the sphere of things that I was researching. So I was like, all right, let me look into this. So the last 3 days, I've been kind of doing an initial dive into this, and this is scary, bro. Like this is some dark stuff. For those that are not familiar with the artist Skrilla, he's openly come out and said that he's part of it's like Santo something. A lot of people can say it's kind of like
voodoo,
like voodoo Satanism, Santeria, stuff like that. And he has videos out there where he's talking about, if you put someone's name into a metal bowl, and I forget the name of that bowl, but you put in their name in that bowl with their date of birth, and you do this little ritual, then that's saying you want something bad to happen to them. It's going to be with metal, maybe a bullet or a knife. He goes in, if you put.
So he's giving away spells to children, demonic spells. That's scary stuff.
Well, I'm setting up for how we're going to get there because that's the darkest part of what this dude did with the song 6-7. And so this is the fundamental of what he believes. He did this. There's a video, and I forget that another popular influencer goes, hey, let me try that mask. And he gives him one of these masks. And the guy puts it on, he takes it off. He's just like, now I got your soul. Anybody that puts that mask on, the guy's kind of like, bro, you're crazy. Like, what? But you could see it's seriousness. So that pulls us into now that's a very brief background of this guy and his beliefs. But when you go into 6-7, it's this recurrence of this number, right? And people say that it has ties to Santos with some of these other things. But here's the crazy part. He openly says that he's into this Santeria Santo stuff, right? He's openly talking about how you could put curses to do people harm. And in the midst of this song, he incorporates a song that specifically targets children. Everybody remembers the
and who's singing this stuff? It's the children.
You remember the baby shark, right? Everybody knows about the baby shark. Do. And this song is the do to 6-7.
What?
So this song is designed to target children. Why? Because you get people that are doing.
Whoa! He took it from that baby shark song.
He took that.
What you're saying?
He took that portion, the portion from the do from the baby shark.
Yeah.
Landed it into this song, and now he doesn't say why he did it, but I think we all understand the reason he did it is because it was targeting children. And now you have teachers. If you guys go on the devil's internet, you'll go and you search this out. You have schools and teachers that are forbidding kids because kids were in there chanting this stuff because it has this. This
is why people should not send their kids to public schools, man.
Or don't even let them watch TV without you.
Don't even let them go to school. Homeschool, man.
And why? Because listen, whatever you believe that's going on in this world, whether you're someone that believes in God or you don't, whatever you subscribe to, the one thing I think everybody agrees on is that there's energy that's in this world, and energy is frequencies. And when you can get a large portion of people, especially the most innocent, which is our children, to all be chanting in unison this 6-7, this doot 6-7, that there's what are they trying to do?
I 100%. It's a spell, right? It's obviously a spell, but I think it's also a date. I think they're signaling a date that something's going to happen. What's your thoughts on that?
It could be. I mean, if you want something to happen, then get everybody to chant it because that's what they believe. Remember, whether we believe it, they believe it.
Right.
Because they plan on doing something on the 13th of December or they plan on doing something on June 7th, or if you want to look at 𝗫, do they plan on doing something on July the 6th?
But I'm also a firm believer, Alpha, that if we speak about this before they could do it, it messes up the quantum field, and they don't do it. I swear to you, I feel like there's something to that. Why? Because a lot of my predictions fall flat.
Absolutely,
You know what I
absolutely.
mean? When you say something, you get ahead of the ball. They're like, it puts it out there in the quantum that we already know what you're doing. Does that make sense?
100%. And just so you know, that is fundamentally one of the most important things or reasons of why I do what I do. Because if we're doing our job the correct way, that actually means we probably won't get a lot of vindications.
Seriously,
we talk about, which is good, because the same way that they're trying to rug pull MAGA, rug pull President Trump, rug pull the White Hats, if we get ahead of their narratives and their agenda, we're rug pulling them as well.
Formerly incarcerated New York City Mayor-elect 𝗬𝗵𝗶𝗹 has chosen a formerly incarcerated rapper to serve on his City Hall transition team. Oh boy. Masani Lennon, I think that's how you say his name, was convicted and served 7 years in prison in the late 90s for 2 armed robberies of taxi drivers. And this guy's appointing him. This is unbelievable. Justice Department opens investigation into conditions of Colorado prisons and youth facilities. You don't say. A little too late. Tina's going through it hard, man. She's in solitary confinement again. Have you seen this? Today, the Justice Department Civil Rights Division announced that it has opened a civil investigation into the conditions within facilities operated by the Colorado Department of Corrections, DOC, and Colorado Department of Youth Services. The investigation will examine DOC and DYS policies and practices to ensure that DOC inmates and youth, so I guess this is just the youth, in the custody of the DYS are being afforded their rights under the U.S. Constitution and federal law. I've heard Colorado's just a hell zone. It's just hell on earth. I was in Denver not too long ago visiting, and I was like, wow, this isn't the Denver I remember. Just, it was during the pandemic, but when I was there, it was just, dude, it's like trashed. From what I saw, I was like, wow, this is not how Denver used to look. I was there when I was like 12 or 13 years old, went back when I was just like a few years ago, and it's completely different, just a hellhole, in my opinion.
You're not wrong, man. And you know, why did Trump move the Space Force, or not Space Force, but the space headquarters out of there? He's trying to weaponize economics against them to get them to capitulate when it comes to Tina, because she's being tortured in there.
She's sick. You know, they're saying her cancer could be back. She's in solitary confinement. She's 70 years old. Everyone there in prison, think about it, you know, is, you know, in their 20s, 30s for violent crimes. A lot of them are, and some of them are Antifa, right? They're all in there. They do not like her. She's been threatened. Her life has been threatened already multiple times. She's in fear of her life. And, you know, they say the average age of a person in prison, they don't live past really 65. It's very rare to see anybody in prison, especially if they've been there a long time. They don't really live past 65. So if you think about, you know, Tina Peters, a 70-year-old woman in a prison, a Gold Star mom who just happened to shine a light on what happened in 2020. This is a sin. Like, I don't understand how Trump is just not sending the marshals in there and breaking her out of there. I don't understand what's taking so long.
You know, one of the things with Tina in this situation is it's even worse for her because she doesn't have a life of being institutionalized.
Right.
You know, this is, you know, prison, because it's, you know, by design, it's not supposed to be a recreation. So by design, this is a place that's going to create a high level of stress for even those that are institutionalized. Imagine someone that's been free 80% of their life, and then you throw them in there. That level of stress and anxiety is even worse. And if you do that to someone that is a previous survivor of cancer, what do you think that amount of stress is going to do?
Oh my Lord. Oh, that's tough.
It's a bad scenario.
Real bad. Let's get on to the next one. Trump pushes Ukraine to accept peace deal, saying it is losing. President Trump dialed up pressure on Ukraine to swiftly accept a U.S. designed peace plan, hardening his position toward the embattled country and its European backers, who insist U.S. security guarantees are vital to a peace deal. Tensions between Europe and Washington are escalating. Trump lambasted European leaders as weak and said Russia holds the cards in any peace deal negotiation with the Ukraine, which they do. And you got to think about it. The dancing Zorba, that's what the ghost calls him. The dancing Zorba, Zelensky, he knows his life's on the line. He can't accept a peace deal. He's done. So for him, his life literally depends on this deal.
You know, when I first saw that dancing video, and I would tell people, don't go look for it. I know you all are. I know you guys are. And you're going to regret it. You're going to regret it when you do. I didn't know you could play the piano that way. That's all I'm going to say. But he is.
Can he play the piano? Was he playing the piano?
I think he was doing parody. It doesn't even matter, bro.
It doesn't matter.
I wish I could unsee what I saw. It was awful, bro. It was so awful. And the people in the chat are going to be, if they've seen it, they're going to be like, yeah, don't go look. Don't go look. No.
Oh, there he is. Look at him. Is his pants down?
Well, his hands are up here, bro. So.
Oh my! He's playing with his weenus. His baby weenus.
I try to warn you guys. You know this. Here's the thing. His second in command, his power guy, just got raided. He's done. All the pieces around him he needs to be effective in his chessboard is done. And how do we know that he's taking the knee? Because he's just been beaten down. Is Trump's like, to go and hold elections out there, and what he's come out and say, we're gonna hold elections.
Yeah, right.
This dude's like a rubber band, and he's ready to snap.
So yeah, he's done. He's done. Dude, you see him in interviews. He's like obviously withdrawing on some heavy shit. Have you seen him where he's just kind of like that? Like even like with Elon, they're both their souls are being. It's a tug of war for their souls. Even Elon Musk. I'm going to say that, but both of them. You've seen both these men go through withdrawals physically on camera. You've seen that there's videos with Zelensky where he's just kind of like, he looks like he's just like, oh, like coming off something hard, bro.
I've wondered so many times, is this that that certain type of chrome that we've talked about in the past?
Right.
Is this, is it drugs? We know a lot of these guys use drugs. Is it spiritual? Is it a combination of all that? There's something going on with these guys.
Something. All right, let's get to it. Candace Owens. All right, let's get into Candace Owens. I want to hear what Alpha's theory is on this. But Candace Owens drops yet another Charlie Kirk. She's dropping these, like, putting these out like bubblegum, bro. I'm like, wait a minute, another one? Candace Owens drops yet another Charlie Kirk conspiracy theory. The U.S. military was involved. Oh, boy. All right. Yeah. So, I had Phil Lyman on, and he's like, dude, she's ruining my life. Phil Lyman, who ran for governor, and she started pointing fingers at him, and they started getting death threats. So I know that her accusations hold a lot of weight, and it literally ruined Phil Lyman's life. Like, I guess he's had to hire security. I don't know. But Candace Owens, after already throwing a number of suspected culprits out there in recent months, said she has finally cracked the mystery behind the murder of Charlie Kirk, and she said it involves the U.S. military. Owens, in a series of Instagram posts on Tuesday, said she's ready to blow the case wide open, based on a tip she received from a service member the night before. Based on a tip, it feels like today will be the day that the government can no longer deny it. Charlie Kirk was assassinated, and our military was involved, Owens wrote. I can't wait to share this information with you guys today. The commentator, who has more than 5.6 million YouTube subscribers and the 10th ranked podcast on Spotify, said the scoop came to her just hours after she went to church and prayed for the final piece to be revealed. Her prayer was immediately answered, she said in the very first email she saw in her tip inbox right before. So these are just anonymous tips, dude. I mean, and now she's going to blow the cover and say the military's involved, the French Legion's involved. Look, dude, here's my position on this, just before you give yours. I think there are wolves within TPUSA. Now, how many? I think maybe a handful. I don't know how many. I'm not going to say the whole organization is, compromised, but I'm going to say there's probably, I don't know, let's say 3, 4, maybe 5 at the most. I'm going to say within TPUSA that maybe are compromised, okay? Or complicit, all right? I'm just going to say that because this was such a highly engineered, high-level hit. Now, the allegations that with what Candace is doing, pointing fingers over here, it's like Oprah handing out a car, right? You're one, you. Everyone's getting the finger pointed at them, and their lives are fucking ruined. You know, to me, she's like the boy that cries wolf. After enough times, people are like, all right, shut the fuck up. You know, like this is getting crazy. Everybody's guilty. Look, do I think it was a high level hit and very high levelly? It was high level engineered. Yes. Do I think people? My personal opinion, just an opinion. I think she's asking the questions Charlie Kirk's wife should be asking. I think now TPUSA is taking certain donations that Charlie Kirk would have never taken. So there's some weird stuff going on. But to start pointing fingers at everybody that's where I start. That's where this ship comes into the harbor, and I say, all right, enough. Put a cap on it. You know what I mean? This is getting a little bit too outrageous, too crazy. But is she also an instigator or disruptor? Because I've said this for 5 years. That yeah, there it is. There's Candace is like the new Oprah, by the way. But so, what's your thoughts on this? Because I'm kind of like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. I do think she's asking the questions they should be asking, TPUSA, but she's losing credibility by pointing fingers everywhere.
So this is what I'll say. Before I piss everybody off, ladies and gentlemen, when the lights go off, from Survivor to Champion.
You didn't even say the cover right. It's when the lights go out, I say.
When the lights go out, from Survivor to Champion. Go and buy it, leave a review, okay? I know a bunch of people are gonna get so mad at me right now. This is what I'll say for those that don't know about me and my background. I come from a background of law enforcement, court expert when it comes to gangs and search warrants. Did it for about a decade and a half. Did undercover work, did detectives and all that. So I've been to formal homicide schools. I've actually done investigations into more murders than I want to be a part of. So just so people can understand that. With that, I also want to be very transparent. I've had a bias against Candace for a very long time. This goes back to when a lot of information.
You're not a fan of hers.
No, I'm not a fan of Candace, and I want to be very transparent about that so people understand. And it's because it's nothing personal. It's just business. You know, if you go back about a year and a half ago, maybe a little bit longer, there was a lot of controversy surrounding conversations of a little country that starts with I. And I think a lot of those conversations are ones that need to be had. It's absolutely important. There has been an infiltration into our government, but not just by that country. You have the military-industrial complex, you have Big Pharma, you have the CCP, you have the Muslim Brotherhood, but it was people wanted to solely focus on that. Now, my issue and the thing that landed Candace on my radar, and I say all this to make what I'm about to say have sense and some context, is during that time, there were certain voices, and my opinions are my own. They're not a reflection of Nino. You had people like Nick Fuentes, Jake Shields, they all came out, and they came out in unison, all together.
Ooh, wait, say the names again.
Nick Fuentes, Jake Shields, and Bazillion.
Jake Shields.
Yeah, Jake Shields.
You're thinking he's a disruptor too.
So here's the thing. People can be disruptors and not realize they're
the UFC fighter Jake Shields.
Yeah.
I hung out that guy a ton.
Yeah, badass Jake Shields, dude. He's a badass, bro. But still, you had, and we could do a whole nother show where I can give you the juice with all this stuff.
I used to party with that guy in Vegas with Nick Diaz and Nate. We used to get it turned up, baby.
He's cool as hell, bro. But
yeah, go ahead.
But again, the same way I have a bias against Candace, biases that I have with people that I like Jake Shields. I have, because of my background, I can separate my emotions to just look at the situation for what it is. And back then, one of the things that I realized were they were all coming out. Now, some of the information they were putting was true about what they were saying with this country, but they were capping it with stuff that's considered the extreme rhetoric or the quote unquote anti-Semitism, which, not to make the show about that, but these were the things that landed this into my radar of, Shortly after that, you had mainstream media. Do any of us trust the Mockingbird media? We don't. And what did it show? It showed all their faces, Candace being one of them, saying the new faces of MAGA.
Oh, yeah.
So when they start telling
right-wing media, I saw that.
Yeah. So when they start telling you this is who your leadership is, the first thing you should do is be like, you ain't going to tell me who's our face, because these people don't represent us. So there's a lot more to that. We could do another show on that if you want.
No. Keep elaborating on that, because that's true. When I saw that as well, I was like, oh, so these are the people you got to avoid.
At least
new faces of the right with me. I saw that, and I was like,
because this has always been the way the deep state operates. It controls both sides of the conflict, whether it's kinetic, whether it's digital, whether it's geopolitical. The deep state has always controlled this and that, because then it doesn't matter who wins. If it's the bad side, they get to get the immediate response of what they want. If it's the good side, then they get the long drawn out response of what they want.
So you feel Candace was, do you think she's either having okay, so do you think she's a plant? Do you think she is having a psychotic break, kind of mind controlled? Or do you think she's really,
I think she is perfectly sane. I don't think there is any mental issue going on with her. This woman's brilliant. She is smart.
Right.
And I actually I did a show last night that's probably going to upset so much of my audience. It's a long show where I went into this in all detail. It's literally called the 𝗬𝗵𝗶𝗹, Candace Owens, and I think I brought a very fair, transparent explaining of all this. And when you go back and you look at, well, how did she get onto the scene to begin with? She's not a conservative.
Hold on, Kanye. Basically, right? Are you going to say Kanye? I mean, Kanye kind of brought, she's friends with Kanye West. Kanye West also brought on Nick Fuentes. You don't just get invited to the White House, Nick Fuentes, that's one that I've been watching very closely and watching his rhetoric and what he's doing. I'm like, okay, he's an instigator, he's a disruptor. And yeah, I even, sometimes the shit he says, I'm like, fucking right on. I kind of like what he says sometimes.
And I'm gonna land this theory on the same theory with Nick Fuentes that I guarantee you guys are all going to be like, oh shit. I guarantee you that is coming, folks. So you got to stick around. We're going to get there.
Yeah, there's people in there saying, I think you're going down the wrong road with Candace. A lot of people are not going to like this.
They're not. You guys are not going to like that. And that's okay. Because here's the thing. You guys can completely be opposed to my position here, and that's fine. All I'm saying is, hear me out. Because what I'm going to tell you is not based off emotion. I'm just going to give you guys facts, and then you interpret it how you want. Because, one of the things that I get hit a lot with from people is you probably don't even watch her videos. I guarantee you I've invested more time into watching her videos than the people that are going to come against me. I've already watched the video that she did yesterday now 2 times because I finished it a second time. I do, because again, I am coming from someone who has been able to separate my emotions and just look at the facts of these things. And what I'll say, and I explained this last night in detail, is if you look at how did Candace come into this? And this goes back to, she was the victim, this was the race card back then. This had to do with her being, cyberbullying type things, comments that were made involving a mayor's son. All this got into the local media because the mayor's son was in the car with the perpetrator that did this. And that kind of launched her into the purview. She ends up going and doing, social autopsy, which was designed. This was literally doxing for right-wing people. This was literally getting people to bring this information. So again, that's not something that's aligned with our movement. But then later on, what you end up seeing, and like I said, it would take too long to do it in a single show here, but what you see, and I would invite people, go watch it if you want. I did it last night, is there's a pattern of behavior that shows that she moves with the events that are trendy. And that doesn't make anybody bad. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is it shows an absence of conviction. What it shows is, hey, this is what trending. It's a business move, and I'm not going to.
And Tim Cass is doing the same thing.
All of them have been.
He just said his house got shut up, and now a lot of influencers are coming out saying no, it did not. They've been investigating this. There's no reports of it.
Oh, there is. So here's the mistake people made, is they called the wrong sheriff's department.
Okay, so that's a huge mistake.
That's a huge mistake. If you that this is what people have to be careful with, because what is one of the main things that's going on right now? It's exposure. 2025 is a year of exposure, because all the D-class that everybody wants, one that comes out, you got to be able to rely on the voices that you're going to turn to. And so what you're seeing right now is you're seeing the alignments of groups, you're seeing the consistency of people, you're seeing who's being accurate, you're seeing who is allowing their biases to control them. All that is important because it's not about us, it's about the audience, it's about the community, it's about the American population. And they need to know who they can trust. And here's the thing, it's very easy to go with the current. I would be so much bigger if I did that. It's very hard to go against the grain.
So do you believe Tim Cass's compound was shot up?
Yes, and only because if you call the actual sheriff department, they do have a report about it, and they are publicly letting people know that called, saying that it did happen. And so that there is evidence from a government law enforcement. People are saying, well, you trust the government. At some points, you got to, there's a level of, yes,
right. The report's there. It's there. Yeah. There's a paper trail there.
So, but it brings us all to kind of this evolution of what's going on with Charlie Kirk. Now, here's, I'll preface this with this: is I want to make, I believe that this is a solo lone shooter that went and did what he did to Charlie based on ideology alone? Absolutely not. I don't want to make
sure. It was Tyler Robinson. Do you think it was
I think that Tyler Robinson is the shooter, but I do not think that he acted alone. I think that this is part of something much grander, whether it was utilized through MK Ultra, whether it was utilized through formal planning, whatever that case is. I absolutely believe this is a way bigger picture. And why? And it's because who was Charlie Kirk? Charlie Kirk was one, if not the most powerful voice of influence for a demographic, for a generation that is absolutely important to the future of America.
And since his assassination, I've come on record saying this: a vacuum will be open to be filled by the wrong people. Hence steps in 𝗦𝗏𝗠𝗃, Nick Fuentes. All these people are now going insane, right? Like everything they're saying, there's Nick Fuentes right there. Now this vacuum has been opened, and here they come, right?
It
all
is.
that 𝗦𝗏𝗠𝗃 is saying about Charlie Kirk. Why didn't you say that when he was alive? You know, and I knew people were going to step right back into position, which is happening right now.
It's exactly what's happening right now. And why? Because, and you nailed it. There's this vacuum of influence, and everybody's bidding for it. Everybody that has a bone in the fight is here. Whether you want to say the little country with an eye, whether you want to say the intelligence agencies, everybody that wants to control that generation right now is trying to put their player in that position.
And that's why he was so dangerous. He was controlling it. He was molding the minds of the youth, taking them back to the nuclear family, all this. Who would be better to fill that void on the dark side than Milo?
He wasn't just MAGA. He was MAGA with Christian backgrounds. He was MAGA with, you said, the nuclear family. He was the most dangerous person for the generation in the eyes of the deep state.
But nobody stepped up to him. Not anybody stepped up to him. No, not Fuentes. Nobody, not 𝗦𝗏𝗠𝗃. And now that he's gone, they're all coming up. They're all moving in.
Because there's nothing to attack him on. The guy, he's not a perfect person. He's human. But
dude, Milo said he was a closet. You know what? I mean, I don't want to say it on here. But this is what's coming out right now. These accusations, a dead man can't stick up for himself. But they're really trying to ruin his reputation. And what's your thoughts on Erica Kirk? Be honest here. What's your thoughts with her? I think that's one reason I do respect Candace. I think she's asking the questions Erica should be asking.
Well, here's the thing. Is one, and I want to preface this with this as well. I'm all about asking questions. I have no issue with Candace or anybody asking questions. We should question the FBI. We should question everybody. But there's a difference between subversion, and there's also a difference between implications and convicting people. You know, Candace has a following of millions of people. Her influence, her power of influence is huge. And so when you get into the conversation of Erica Kirk, and this is just my opinion, this is a woman who just lost her husband and got to see how it happened. She has kids now that don't have her father. That alone is traumatic for anybody, any regular person out there. But on top of that, she's also faced with, she's been tasked with continuing the legacy for him. She's been tasked with controlling TPUSA. We know it's an institution that, of course, the deep state has tried to infiltrate it. And look how powerful it is. Of course, that concern is there. All this is going on. At the same time, what I imagine she's doing, and because there are some things that she does that look fake, but does that mean she's bad? I don't think so. I think she's trying to put on the front of being strong.
She's trying to step into the power zone and really hold it together for everybody and come across it. Yeah.
Because here's the thing: if she comes
what about
out
them now receiving donations from the people that he said he would not take donations from, and now they're allegedly taking these donations. I saw, Sue Peters cover this, a few others cover this. What's your thoughts on that? I mean, if that's the case,
I'm not weighing any of the speculation on the donations because so far we're over 3 months into this, and nobody has provided any evidence of their speculation, not one time.
But you can't deny that Candace Owens, even though she's pointing fingers at everybody, she's still the one out there asking questions. We all know something was wrong with this assassination. We all know it.
Here's the thing, and I'll get a video that we can play at the end of this. It's real quick. It's less than a minute. That goes into this, and it's by Chase, one of the guys that's phenomenal when talking about psychological operations. But the issue, remember, it's how do you do a psyop? You got to introduce something that's authentic. So we'll use the most recent video that Candace did, and you were talking about this. She comes out, she drops this video on Instagram, and one of the things, and I'll read it, so I say it verbatim. I think it was the last clip or second to the last clip. It reads this: "It feels like today will be the day that the government can no longer deny it. Charlie Kirk was, you know what, and our military was involved. I can't wait to share this information with you guys." Now, when she goes and she starts to explain this to her audience, what does she say? She does exactly what you do when you're pushing out a psyop or propaganda. It's called the emotional hook. She starts off with saying, "I went to church today, and I prayed for this miracle, for this insight, for this last piece." What does that do? Right away, anybody that's religious, anybody that subscribes to the idea of God,
from God, and she's a good person, so you could trust her.
Yeah, you could. Oh, that's what I do.
That emotional hook. Good point.
And then emotional hook number 2, because you always need 2. Emotional hook number 2. Then I went to spend the last 15 minutes of the day with my daughter. Now you just grabbed every mom, every parent, and you got this.
You're saying this is deliberate?
Absolutely deliberate. And I know people are going to get mad. Time's going to tell whether Alpha was right or whether Alpha was a knucklehead. And if I was a knucklehead, y'all can all make fun of me. And I don't mind being a knucklehead, because if I'm a knucklehead, that still means we moved in the right direction. And it's not about our vindication.
To me, I've said this was going to happen, the disruptors and agitators. So if you're saying she's one of them, I'm not going to say, you're making a lot of sense to me right now. You're making a lot of sense.
Well, then she comes out, and then she makes this is the psyop question, or the psyop statement. Our military was involved. That is the most dangerous thing that she said in this entire Charlie Kirk thing. She didn't say it looks like. She didn't say it's the potential. Our military is involved, and our government's not going to be able to deny it, and I'm going to provide you the receipts. Now, anybody that went and listened to the podcast, there's no receipts. There's nothing. It's a guy that emailed her and provided stuff, who provided a police report number, but the police report number that he's providing is an incident involving him that's not tied to any of this stuff. It's speculation. And Nino, I know you'll vouch for me on this, because you probably get it exponentially more than I do. There are people that send me the craziest shit about stuff that they were involved with. Hey man, and this is not a knock on people that I know have legitimate stories. This is the overwhelming stuff. And you have to filter through this stuff. You have to vet this stuff. And she got one of those people that emailed her with this stuff, who was I'm not going to go too much on a sidebar on this, but she got this emails from a guy telling his story, folks, is not evidence.
It's not.
If somebody goes and files a police report,
it's not evidence.
It's not.
And that's what she's basing this off of.
This entire thing is based off of what a guy told her and emails that he provided her. That's it.
How many of those do I get a day, man?
That's the point that I'm trying to make. And so then he provides a police report number from an incident that involves him. So people are like, well, there's that. That's not evidence. That's called documentation of his statement. Any one of you guys can call the police.
But she prayed about it at church, and she went to visit her daughter.
That's the emotional hook. That's part of the psyop. That's preloading people to subscribe to what she's about to tell them. And so, and with regards, I can tell you guys right now, I took tons of police reports in my 14 years of people that were just crazy. That's just me documenting their statement. These things aren't evidence in fact until they make their way through the judicial process, get into a courtroom, and then a jury ultimately says, this is what we believe, this is what we don't believe.
So is she adding this, like, is she trying to put all the pieces of the puzzle together? Like she said, it was the French Legion. She said the hitman moved like next door to her.
If you go,
hitman's there in her town,
here's what I'll say. If you guys go and want to invest the time and watch the video I did last night, you don't have to even take my opinion. I literally played videos of Candace arguing with Candace. It's not even me, it's her. She makes a statement talking about, I want you there in person because I want to.
Okay, so basically, look, I'm in the lane of at least she's asking the questions, but I'm now to the point where take it with a grain of salt. And yes, it could be a psyop. Okay, that is clear. But do you believe Tyler Robinson was the lone shooter? Do you believe he was a patsy? Do you believe there are people involved with TPUSA that are compromised?
I absolutely believe Tyler Robinson is involved. I do not believe that he acted alone. And I think that this is a much larger thing that's in play, and it's because of who Charlie Kirk was. I absolutely believe that.
Do you believe people within TPUSA were involved?
I don't believe, well, I'm not going to say people were involved because I don't know. And we're talking about an assassination. What I will say is that if you asked me for my educated guess, I absolutely believe people have infiltrated into TPUSA because if I was a deep state, I would infiltrate TPUSA. I would infiltrate Tin Pool. Any institution where you have someone of influence, I would put one of my operatives there. And if my operative couldn't influence them, at least my operative would let me know what they're working on. All these things, if the deep state can infiltrate our government, you think they can't infiltrate an influencer? And actually, that's a perfect time for me to drop a video for you real quick, Nino, that I think you guys will enjoy, that puts this in perspective.
Yeah, someone says in here, I agree with that, but I'm still listening to Candace along with everyone else. Yeah, I mean, keep your options open, folks. This is just an opinion. I'm still listening to Candace. I think she's still asking the hard questions. Now, whether she's a psyop or not, it's very high probability that she could be, but go ahead.
Well, here's the thing. Don't stop listening to Candace. I'm also going to tell you, don't stop watching CNN.
Right.
You got to take in all the information. You just have to recognize, am I being sopped? And so anyways, here's a minute, 8 seconds of something that I think you guys will find this very interesting.
The way that a Gen Z person might get recruited is, let's just use you as an example. Somebody comes up and says, hey man, I love your podcast. And they say, I have a serious question for you though. Would you consider yourself a patriot? Now I've got you locked into identity. And then I say, well, I have an offer for you, but before I show you anything, I just want you to say yes or no. Would you be willing to entertain the offer? And it might be uncomfortable. Stage one is I show you all of your browsing history, captures from your webcams on all of your phones and computers of you doing the most compromising shit you could ever possibly imagine. And I'd say, I like your podcast. I think you're doing a great job and I want to protect you. I want to keep all this from the public eye. We also want to give you $20,000 a month. So now you feel like you chose all of this. I told you it was going to be stressful and you agreed to it. If you say yes, the reason that you're doing this on your podcast is for your country, because you're not going to call yourself compromised. We have this thing called cognitive dissonance that keeps our brain from thinking I'm a bad person. Even though you're being asked to silence people, not have certain people on the show, leave something out of your podcast, you're telling yourself, and whoever's your handler is telling you, this is for the greater good. And you kept Americans safe by doing that. And you'll tell yourself that. And you'll feel good about it.
What happens if I say no?
So, this is a guy who's considered an authority when it comes to...
What happens when they approach Sancho and Sancho says, do it! I've done it all!
And here's the thing. This is one of the reasons I've always... This is one of the reasons I've always... one of the things that has been weaponized against Nino, you guys, and you guys know this, I'm preaching to the choir, is why do you have this person on and why do you have that person on? The mere fact that Nino has on everybody tells me that Nino's not controlled, because a controlled person wouldn't do that.
I think
so,
people have tried to control me.
Oh, they do.
I think they tried to, and I'm like, whatever. I think so. I'm not sure, but I think maybe.
But I say all this to say this stuff is, there has been, from the day Candace Owens went on this venture for Charlie Kirk to now, there have been so many inconsistencies. Watch tomorrow's video. I'm naming names. I'm doing this. And none of that has happened. I have put a challenge out to anybody. Go on any of my threads and show me the evidence. Just one. Show me the evidence that she's shown. Not speculation.
I know firsthand. I talked to Phil Lyman himself. He's like, dude, my life is now in jeopardy. I'm scared for my life. My family's scared for my life. She has no proof of anything she's saying about me. And he provided the receipts on my show. Phil Lyman came on my show and he's like, dude, I'm terrified here. She's just making all these accusations saying I'm involved. He goes, dude, I just showed up. I mean, it was pretty crazy. So I know firsthand what you're saying here is right in that aspect, in that regard.
Here's the thing, and sometimes it's the little things that matter. One of the reasons that's being argued that she wouldn't make the in-person date is because December 15th is the birthday of her husband. And you've seen the videos that come out, where people have said that's not. Is one when you go to the wiki page, which has been changed, but before it didn't show December 15th. They showed a date in July. And
whoa. They're changing the husband's birthday. Is that what you're saying?
They did. They changed it. You can go. People have archived it, so you can see where it initially had July, and now it shows December.
Jeez.
And so
December 15th. So why would she do that?
Well, again, it's the little lies, right? If you're creating the argument that one of the reasons you can't go is because that's the birthday
to the TPUSA event.
To the event where they challenged her to come to do the in-person debate, I guess you could call it. Well, then you had people go and put videos that showed her on a podcast talking about, we celebrated the birth of our nation. We also celebrated my husband's birthday, which is an indicator of July. And then you had a lot of people that made the argument, well, no, that's because of the citizenship. She was talking about his citizenship birthday. And maybe that's the case. It still doesn't articulate that his birthday is in December. It's not. And then people, because here's the thing, you got everybody's eyes is in this. They're going through every detail she said. And people went and found the UK government website that has his birthday listed in July. And so here's the thing, why lie about his birthday? It's insignificant. And it's those little things that just have to make you take pause to be like, well, what's going on? And so here's and I know the people that are pro Candace in the chat, this is the main argument that's made to me, and this is the most important thing I want to share with regards. Well, why such an issue with her doing it in person? Here's a couple of reasons. Reason number one, she's the one that made the invitation. She's the one that said anytime, any place. They called her bluff. And why would you want in person? Here's what I'll tell you as a detective. If it's done virtually, through cameras, is she could be using a teleprompter. She could have someone in her ear that's assisting her. There's a lot of things that work to your advantage. In person is never to the advantage of the person that's lying, ever. In person is always going to benefit the people that are asking the questions and the person that's telling the truth. When I was a detective and I would reach out to someone to come in to bring them for a statement, they'd call me, hey, me and my attorney would like to do this on via conference call. Well, if that's the only thing I'm going to get, it's the only thing I'm going to get. But I never wanted to do that. I always said, well, let's bring you in. I want to be able to show you some things as well. I'm not going to be able to do that by phone. Why? Because when you're in person, I get to look at your body language. Right now, people can't see anything below my chest. People can't see. They can't see if I'm going like this with my fingers because I'm nervous. They can't see if I have my heel on the ground, because I'm doing this. They can't see if I keep rubbing my pants because my palms are sweaty. You don't get to see the physical reaction of someone. And when you're questioning somebody, what you're looking is it's what we call 𝗂𝗏, change of behavior. I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions that you're not going to have issues with.
She's also saying, she's in fear of her life.
Well, I'll get to that part too, because that's actually very easy to make a conversation for. But when I'm looking for these change of behaviors, and here's the thing, folks, this also benefits Candace if she's telling the truth, because she gets to do this to them. Everything that I'm saying that they get to make observations of her, she would get to make these observations of them. If they're using a teleprompter, she gets to tell her audience, yeah, look, they're reading right off the teleprompter. Yeah, look, they're getting a layup assist from the producers. These benefit her. If she asks a question, she gets to see their physical reaction. In person always benefits the person that's questioning. It always is. And it's always going to benefit the person that is telling the truth. Because if I'm making the allegation, Nino went and did this to this person, Nino gets to come out and say, well, hold on, bro, where'd you hear that? Because I can tell you right now that's not true. And you get to address that real time. When in the absence of that, there's only one reason that you wouldn't, and it's probably because you're not confident. You saw there was a couple of interviews that she went on regarding Charlie Kirk with some other people where she got called on things live, real time. Where she was like, well, the Discord, and they're like, well, this isn't about the Discord, this is about the text messages. She's like, no, it's Discord. Now, anybody in her audience would side by her and say, well, yeah, see, Candace is right. But the girl said, look, it's literally right here in the affidavit. It says text messages. And then what did Candace have to do? She had right on camera, it's recorded. She goes, oh, I didn't know that. Well, all of a sudden, her audience can't argue that because she's acknowledging she didn't know that. She made a mistake. And so this is why in-person is critical. Now, to the issue of safety, two things. A, if they brought her in and something happened to her, everybody's gonna
Everybody would see it and witness it.
everybody would witness it and be like, you know what? You made her a
TPUSA
martyr.
is done.
You made her a martyr, and you guys are done. Because that means if you did it to her, that means you definitely did it to
Which
him.
that's automatically not going to happen.
They self-annihilate them themselves. Two is, what's to say you can't bring? Why can't you bring your security team with you? Bring them with you. If you want to tell these guys, hey, look, I will come on your date and I will come at your time, and say it publicly, so this way you have the audience that's going to support you and get behind you, and say, I'm willing to come on your date. I'm willing to come at your time. I'm going to send my security detail to talk with you, and you're going to give them everything that they want. If you don't do anything that if you tell my security detail no to one thing, it's over. And guess what? That would benefit her, because everybody would say, hey, that is fair.
So where are we right now with this? Are they planning to do this, or did they scratch the whole thing?
I think here's Candace's play. I think Candace at the last second is going to say, okay, I'm going to show up. Because that gives her the element of surprise. Everybody wants the element of surprise.
Right.
It gives her the element of surprise, and all of a sudden she's going to show up. I think TPUSA's thing that they can do is they could come out and say, all right, you know what, whatever. You don't want to do it the 15th. That's too busy for you. Let's do it on the 17th. We'll give you that. We'll do it the 17th. Because if they make her a different date offer and she rejects that one too, she destroys her entire narrative.
So they haven't done that yet. We're still waiting.
They haven't done that yet.
Okay, so that's what we're waiting on.
TPUSA came out and said, hey, we're still going to go through with it. You know, we're going to do this. Candace came out and said, we're going to do the live stream to the live stream. And here, at the end of the day, nobody benefits from that. Neither one of them is going to gain allegiance. Depending on what the TPUSA guys say, maybe they provide some more insight to stuff that we don't know yet. But other than that, I don't really see the net benefit for the community coming out of this.
All right, Alpha, stick around for a second. I'm going to read some what the fuck news real quick and take some super chats, and then we're going on ninoscorner.tv, correct?
Yep.
All right, so we're going to jump over there, folks, to talk about this further, and it's 50% off right now, ninoscorner.tv on all annuals. I'm doing the ho-ho-ho Christmas sale. Folks, what the fuck news and what the fuck news. Have you seen this? AI-generated man. You may know something about this, Alpha. Police swap suspect sketches for now they're using AI. This is scary, dude. What if it just so happens to look like one of us? You know what I mean? Like, that scares the shit out of me. So, after a late November shooting in Phoenix suburb, police released an apparent mugshot of their suspect, a middle-aged man wearing a hoodie and beanie with a goatee, and appealed to the public for tips. It came with a warning. This AI-generated image is based on victim witness statements. I sent you that image, Alex. You should be able to pull it up. Statements and does not depict a real person. The Goodyear Police Department's computer-generated image of their shooting suspect almost looks like a photo. Officers say it's not an AI fabrication, though. If it's not an AI fabrication, though, and it was sourced in the same way as a typical, there it is, as a typical composite sketch. They interviewed a witness, drew a sketch based on that testimony, and fed it into a ChatGPT to produce a lifelike image. Dude, it looks like my friend Danny. Police around the country are using AI-powered tools to sort of sift through evidence, identify suspects through facial recognition software, and perform administrative tasks like writing reports. But the Goodyear's police department appears to be one of the first to substitute hand-drawn sketches of suspects with lifelike images generated by AI. Experts warned that the practice could distort an already unreliable process. This is where I come in. This is what I'm talking about. An unreliable process for identifying suspects or to be subject to scrutiny in court. But the Goodyear officer, who usually draws sketches and is now responsible for using AI to recreate them, has endorsed AI image generators as a powerful and attention-grabbing police tool. Damn. I don't know. I don't know where this is going. This is happening so fast. We are living in the era of AI, solutions to all problems, and quantum, the speed of solutions. I don't know, dude. How do you feel about this, Alpha? Seriously, I want your perspective on this.
I'm looking at the image down there, and you ain't going to catch me wearing a beanie over the next few days, bro. I'm like,
dude, I mean, how many people can look at this and be like, damn, that looks like my friend so-and-so? I mean, dude, it's just too realistic. I'm like, just imagine you look like this guy.
Somebody in the chat said that looks like a combination of Benny Johnson and Alpha. I'm like, hey, don't be starting no rumors, man. Don't be going there. You know, I can see both sides of the argument. This is concerning for me because AI is using photos and things that are out there, and it's going to use this stuff to create these synthetic images. And yeah, what if you start pulling things from people's real photos?
Dude, this just does not seem like it's going in a good direction for me at all.
This one makes me nervous, bro. If maybe we were years into artificial intelligence, the everyday layperson had a better understanding of it. We've already reinstituted the trust into our law enforcement because that's not there right now. I think deploying this type of tool now, I think it only, creates further distance between the community and law enforcement when it comes to trust and concerns. I think this is a bad call by them right now.
So whenever I go through the airport, I never take a picture in that camera. They stand right here, take a picture. I was like, no, thank you. I'm not going to make it that much easier for you guys. But then again, I think about it. I'm like, wait a minute. I've already been in jail. I have mug shots. I guess I'm already screwed, right? I mean, right? I mean, they've already taken my mug shots. Dude, I'm on record. It doesn't matter, right?
I mean, they got our 𝗵𝗲 prints from the moment we were born.
Right. Yeah, dude, you're right. Yeah, remember my mom used to take me down to get my fingerprints taken and all that. I'm like, why, Mom? Yeah, that's all for the fucking system, dude. Jeez, man.
It is. What we can do. So we're screwed when it comes to our digital footprints. But what I do think is for our kids and our future kids, nieces and nephews, I think we can train them into a mindset of protect who you are, protect your DNA, protect your images, protect you. I think we're done. Cat's out of the bag for us. But I think the generations behind us, I think we can make things better for them.
Well, Alpha, thank you for joining me, folks. We're going to ninoscorner.tv right now. Go ahead.
You want to go to Nino's Corner because I told you guys I was going to tell you what was going to happen, what was going to be the shocker, and I'm going to tell that on Nino's Corner.
Oh, beautiful. All right, ninoscorner.tv, 50% off right now, folks. Alpha, I'll send you a link right now, but stay with me, Alpha. We got to let this load. It's a new